Hey, so Greg, I know we've talked a lot about the violations that come up, and we talked top 10, top 5. Respiratory issues are big. What can you tell us about that, just focusing on respiratory?
So respiratory protection is always in the top 10, has been for, again, the last 10 years, whatever. And I shake my head, and then, the COVID thing, you think, oh, finally, people know a few things, PPE, personal protective equipment, and oh my God, everybody knows what an N95 is. So as a safety guy, I'm sitting back being a smart ass laughing, going, hey, the good thing about this is people are starting to pay attention to safety.
Yeah.
And it is what it is. So the problem you have, and I was absolutely disgusted the way the safety nation and medical handled the beginning of this thing. Looking back going, everybody start wearing N95s, put these masks on with no training, with no medical clearance. OSHA's had a program in writing since 1970, whatever, for respiratory protection, and it is the best respiratory protection standard in the world.
Okay.
It's well done, it works, and it's saved thousands of people from getting hurt at work. So again, why not pay a little bit of attention to what has worked for so long? And that I'll get off my soapbox, but there's a reason I take this one seriously, because it's important to protect your lungs at work. So, confined space, wear the respirator, do this. So respiratory protection, there's some things you have to do before you can start worrying about what you're going to wear at work. One, you have to make sure the person you're going to let put on whatever respiratory protection is, if it's N95, N100, half face, full face, SCBA, they have to be medically cleared. They have to go see a doctor.
To just put on a mask?
Yeah. If I have an underlying health issue, something wrong with my heart or my lungs, and I start slapping on a mask and working in it, bad things are going to happen to you because it makes it harder to breathe. It restricts your flow, and it makes you a little tense, and it's hotter if it's hot outside or if you're in a small area. So a lot of things start to come into play. So you have to be medically cleared to do a spirometry test. And that's the one when you go and you blow into a tube and the nurse is yelling at you, keep blowing, and you do it like 3 times and you're ready to faint. And you're like, this lady likes to hurt people for fun, right? So you get cleared, and then the doc and you answer some medical history questions. And then the doc sends you a note back and says, this guy can go ahead and wear this respirator. Or maybe he can't do this, so you have to come up with another plan.
Really was totally unaware you even had to do that.
It's really important to understand the steps to get you there. Now, we have to give the person a respirator, whatever one that is for the hazard you're facing. An N95, a half face with cartridges, and then you have to train that person on how to put it on. Well, you don't have to look 10 feet and you see people not putting masks on, right? All over the place. I've seen them upside down. I've seen them inside out. I've seen them absolutely below the nose, not fitted right. I mean, just insane, because there's different sizes. So if you're a tiny little lady, a large is going to be a problem because it's not going to fit right. And then you have to train. So you teach them how to put it on. So you train them how to interact with it and the things you need to look for. People always go, hey, if I'm wearing a cartridge respirator, how do I know when these cartridges are no good? Well, some of the newer ones have little indicator things on them, but those are just like a life, how long might they last? Okay. The best thing to do is, as a person wearing it, it's getting harder to breathe in here. Okay, so it's getting plugged. Or, you can feel it, and they're like, man, I'm really struggling to pull air in here. It's time to go get a new cartridge. Or they call it breakthrough. Let's say you're working with chlorine, and all of a sudden you get a little burst of chlorine in your mask. It's time to get out. It might be spent
immediately.
Don't like, hey, I think I smelled it. And it could be sometimes it's mental and you're just getting used to it, but a lot of times it's a breakthrough. All right, so it's time to go make sure you got a good cartridge. It may have been a seal issue, but you go on and on. There's a lot. If I'm going to wear a mask the right way, I have to be clean shaven for a good seal. And then you run around. How many guys do you see with beards wearing them? Still nothing.
I see them all the time. I swear, man, it's like a forest under that thing.
Yeah, there's no seal at all. Why wear it? So the list goes on of things you can do, and then clean it and how to use it, because a lot of times they're reusable if you're wearing a half face or a full face. So the proper maintenance and how to store it, those are all things you have to take into consideration in a respiratory program. For work, you want to make sure that you have everything available, the training's done, the medical clearance is done. And again, you have to have a written plan, anything work related, right? So those are all the things that get people big fines. And that's why every year, here it comes again, respiratory protection.
And it's always one of the top 10, isn't it?
It's always.
Every year.
And it's in the top 10 for reasons people, have medical issues or die at work. So I just frustrates me because it's not that hard of a standard to put in place if you just follow a few simple things. So.
But there are some things to think about that you brought up here that I would have never thought of, and perhaps you wouldn't have thought of as well. And but that's what Greg does. I mean, he asks a lot of questions about different safety aspects. So if you enjoyed this video, you can get a lot more great ideas. SafetyIntegration.com. That's SafetyIntegration.com. We've done tons of these videos, and I'm learning more and more every day, and you will too, and it's going to be good for you. So, Greg, as usual, thank you very much for this. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you having me.